The final question to check motivation: is it worth it? Is it worth the time you would spend? Is it worth all the effort? Is it worth any psychological cost like stress or anxiety? Let's take a look at what being a math person means and how that idea that you're not a math person could contribute to stress and anxiety. When I was young, I thought I was not a math person because I took a long time to learn my math facts. Everyone else seemed to learn them so much easier than I did. So I figured math was just harder for me, and I wasn't any good at it. Has anyone ever thought they weren't good at math because they took a long time to learn their math facts, or maybe never even learned them at all? Dr. Joe Bowler, who we saw in a previous video, has done research about time tests causing anxiety for students, and that perhaps students as young as 6 or 7 can develop math anxiety, and those time tests are one of the worst culprits for creating anxiety. So how does test anxiety become a problem in the first place? The concept of the head principle may give us an idea. What fires together, wires together. After you take tests over and over and you experience failure in those tests, that then causes stress and anxiety. And after repeated failure, this anxiety can be induced with just seeing a test or even thinking about taking a test. Some people think they're not a math person if they experience test anxiety or perform poorly. Researchers have now found that when you're anxious and taking a math test, that anxiety takes up valuable working memory. So the working memory is the part of your brain that accesses your long-term stored memories, like, for instance, how to do a math problem, and then takes information from the sensory memory from the environment, like perhaps a problem on a page, and combines them both to solve the problem. Earlier research said we had 7 plus or minus 2 spaces in our working memory. Now we think it's much less, more like 4 or 5 at the very most. And if you are anxious, that anxiety takes up valuable working memory and you make more errors. After a while, all you have to do is look at a math test or even a math book, and the anxiety you felt after you failed math tests all those times in the past will automatically be there, even if there is nothing actually to be anxious about in the present. Many of your students may have math anxiety and not know what to do about it. Thankfully, researchers from the University of Chicago found one simple 7-minute practice called expressive writing, done before a test, reduced the performance gap between high and low math anxious students on math problems that required higher working memory. Overall, the test scores increased on average a little over half a letter grade. Let's take a look at this chart. You can see here, this side shows the problems that had higher working memory demand. Here's the control. The control group did not do anything with expressive writing, and you can see the high math anxious students had higher errors. The low math anxious students had lower errors. And over here, in this column, you can see the expressive writing group. Look at the decrease between the control group and the expressive writing group. While the higher math anxious students still had more errors than the low math anxious students, their difference was not statistically significant. So you will have the opportunity to practice this strategy to reduce anxiety's load on working memory when you return to the survey. But here's the process. You'll write for 7 minutes as openly as possible about your thoughts and feelings regarding the math problems you are about to perform. Now in reality, you are not about to perform a math test, but you can imagine it. Really let yourself go. Explore your emotions and thoughts as you're getting ready to start your math test. You might relate your current thoughts to the way you felt during other situations at school or in your life. Try and be as open as possible as you write about your thoughts, There will be no identifying information on your essay. None of the experimenters, including me, can ever link your writing to you. Remember, there is no such thing as a math person. If you have a brain, you can learn math, or anything else you please. When you're about ready to do something new, you can check your motivation to achieve and answer these questions. The first one, can I do it? Now we know the answer is yes. Everyone's brain uses the same process when they learn. One neuron branches out with the dendrites and connects to other neurons. As we challenge our brain, we learn. Do I care? Find the value in what you're doing. Relate it to your life. And the last one, is it worth it? Reduce psychological costs like anxiety using expressive writing before a test. Reduce effort and time costs by increasing value. You might find it's okay to spend more time and effort in achieving something if it's more meaningful to you. Being aware of your answers to these 3 questions can help you achieve at an even higher level. If you've ever felt like you couldn't motivate yourself to do something, perhaps deep down you may have felt you couldn't ever really learn it. Or perhaps you couldn't see the value in it, so all the costs were just too high. Ask yourself these questions when you embark on a new endeavor. You can also encourage your students to ask these questions as well. If the answers are yes to each one, motivation to achieve will be optimal. Please return to the Survey tab.